Hello everyone, my name is Rinda and welcome back to Book Nook Chats. In today's video, I am going to be going over my series. I've made a Google spreadsheet listing out every series that I have started since I got back into reading last year, and there are quite a few. It's not a wholly unmanageable amount, but I need to review these series and see whether I've completed them. Do I want to keep them in my ongoing priority TBR, or do I want to leave them behind? Say goodbye. It's a DNF. I feel motivated to do this because I came out of a 5-month-long reading break. I was quite overwhelmed with the way I was reading last year, and this year I want to be more selective with the books that I read, the books that I continue on with, and be more thoughtful in my selection. My reading goal is also smaller in its quantity this year. I also want to read more books that are outside of fiction, and with all of this in mind, I think I need to do a little bit of housekeeping when it comes to my series. Now, when it comes to series, historically, I've always been a person, I would start a book and then I would read through the entire series in a continuous flow. And that's just how I was. Even last year when I got into the excitement of reading, I started quite a few series and I read them completely from start to finish. But eventually, as I was participating in a lot of challenges and also coming across so many great recommendations and curating my own TBR and discovering books that I wanted to read, it got so overwhelming. Somehow I just don't like this restlessness that I'm observing in myself as a reader now, where I'm not able to stick with one series and I keep switching to a different series or reading too many books at one time. I genuinely want to be more immersed in my reading with a series. It's not just any one individual book. It's the entirety of the series that forms the complete story. And so that's how I always considered a series. That's the complete story. And this year, there are so many series that I want to get to, like a series by Brandon Sanderson, even the Tainted Cup series by Robert Jackson Bennett, and a couple of other titles like that, which are more epic fantasy. I want to get into them, but I don't like the thought of having too many series just hanging out there unfinished. It's just the way that I am. I like to finish something that I've started, and so this is a good opportunity for me to evaluate where I'm at with the series and whether I really want to continue with them or not. I think having a great variety of books that you're excited to read is amazing, but there also has to be a process of deciding which books you are going to ultimately read, because ultimately we all have a limited amount of time that we can spend on reading, and I want to use that as wisely as I can. Another thing that I feel influenced this bad habit of continuously switching between books is that last year I was participating in a lot of monthly challenges, and so when the purpose is to fulfill a variety of different prompts, sometimes that would mean that I can't continue on with the series naturally and I have to switch to something else to fulfill a prompt, which is why this year I'm not participating in as many challenges, or if I am, it has to fit in with my own reading plans and not be too intensive in terms of its time frame or in terms of the variety that it demands for the reading. So that's my goal with reading. I think this might become an episodic series of sorts. I will see what kind of challenges I can set for myself as I go along. Today's video is just going to be to evaluate all the series and see where I'm at, and once I have my ongoing TBR list, maybe I will do another video in following up with that or setting a challenge for myself in terms of what books I'm going to read. There is a Squash That Series challenge coming up next month. It's, I think, 1-week challenge, and it'll be nice if it's possible for me to kind of commit to maybe completing a series or two that aren't very long, or I just have 1 or 2 books remaining to complete. Another thing that happened last year was, because of the challenges, I found myself not picking up a lot of series. I instead would choose standalone books or series of standalones, and there are so many series that I'm genuinely excited to read that I want to get to that are going to be a commitment in terms of time and in terms of immersion, and I want that feeling of immersing myself into that world and then seeing that entire journey and the payoff that it has in the end, and I think that's really satisfying. So that is one of my reading goals this year, to read more series that I'm excited about. I do love a good standalone. I also like a good duology. But this year, I'm also picking up some standalones which are heavier, more epic fantasy reads. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that goes. Okay, so that's it on my thoughts around reading series. Let's get into the spreadsheet. Okay, so first up, let me take you through the drop-down list for the statuses I have in here. One is completed. The AGA complete stands for as good as complete, and I will show you where this applies. This definitely applies for some series of standalone books that I'm not wanting to continue, but I finish them. It's not like I'm DNFing them. I don't have to read ahead. So they come in here. And if at all I decide that I'm in the mood for something, I could always pick up a book from those kind of series. So mostly this is for that. The ongoing is where my priority TBR is going to come into play, the books that I really want to continue reading. And then soft DNF are books that I enjoyed, whether I read one book, two books, but I'm just not that inclined or interested in reading the entire series. And then DNF is just hard DNF. So that's the statuses. As of now, I've just organized these by length. So long series are anything which have more than 4 books. Then there are trilogies, duologies, and standalones. So let's get into the first series, which is Harry Potter. I reread this at the start of last year, and this is what kind of sparked my interest in wanting to actually get back into reading because I remembered the excitement of getting into a new magical universe, and I loved that feeling. I was remembering how I felt when I was reading those fifth, sixth, seventh books for the very first time, and I wanted to capture that feeling again, and that's what kickstarted my journey with reading again last year. So this is like my first love of fantasy and adventure. I did complete my reread of it. I've read it these many times over the years, but it had been a couple of years since I reread it completely from start to finish. And then the next series that I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And I didn't know how popular it was when I picked it up. This was the very first fae and romantasy that I read. It kind of opened this gateway into books as they are today with these epic fantasy worlds which have really interesting magic systems and then also a great focus on romance. It was exciting reading the first 3 books. Like I read them so fast, I just breezed through them in a haze. And then a few months later, when I got back to reading the fourth book, which is a novella, it I was very disappointed. There were things in the writing that because this book didn't have a plot, and while usually I enjoy reading cozy books which follow character journeys, um, this book disappointed me because the character progression I felt was really bad. And there are many thoughts I had on this, but it kind of ruined my feeling of whatever I had in my mind as the experience for the first 3 books. So after this, it was hard for me to pick up the fifth book, but I was buddy reading it with a friend, so I did try to commit to it. I got through about 55%, and I made the huge mistake to get away from some of the issues I was having with the writing that I was feeling kind of awkward and cringe about. I thought, okay, let me go through it as an audiobook, speed it up, but that was a bad decision because I think the audiobook is horrible. Like the narrator, it's just the narration is just bad. Like it, it ruined it for me. So I'm going to count this series as good as complete because I think I have pretty much read my way through almost all of it. Next up, we have the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. This has to be my favorite fantasy universe and world after Harry Potter. I just love everything about her writing, the way she writes the plot pacing, but most importantly, her character driven story work. It's so good. And I've even read the companion novels at this point, and I love it. I read the Shadow and Bones trilogy last year after about 6 years, which is when I had first come across this series, having watched the show. I hadn't read the Six of Crows duology, so that I read for the first time, and I fell in love with all the characters. I love a good high story. And the King of Scars duology would also be a reread. I don't remember much from it, but I love Nikolai as a character, and so I am interested in finishing out my entire read and reread of this Creatureverse series. Next up, we have Wings of Fire by Tui Sutherland. I love this. This is like an amazing, adventurous, exciting, dragon filled middle grade fantasy series. I've read the first two books. I am planning on reading the third soon, so I'm going to mark this as ongoing. Next up is the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. The first book is dealing with dragons. This can be read pretty much as a standalone, but it does continue on. This is a bit of a it's a younger series, and I don't think at this time I'm interested in continuing it. I did enjoy my reading of the first book. This is a bit of a classic, and I had read it for. It satisfied prompts for two of the challenges, and I enjoyed my read of this, but I'm not so eager to continue it as a series. So I'm going to put this as my first soft DNF. Next up is the Lord of the Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have loved Lord of the Rings. I have watched the extended cuts multiple times. I've followed the movies essentially, but I never read the books until last year, where I read The Hobbit twice, and I loved it. It's a perfect, cozy travel adventure, and it's quite humorous, more than I expected it to be. And then I was on track to read the other three books also with a book club, but somehow I fell off with my reading, and I ended up not reading anything for 5 months. And coming back into this year, I just don't feel as eager to read The Lord of the Rings because there's so many stories that I want to get to that I don't know what happens in them. And here I feel like no matter how great the books are at this point in time, I know ultimately what happens in them. And so I don't have that curiosity, that spark of curiosity. So therefore, for that reason, I am going to soft DNF it. At some point, I might pick it up, but for now, I think I'm going to keep it aside. Next, we have Villains and Virtues by A.K. Cagliano. The first book was Thrown in the Dark. This was a very unexpected read for me. I actually read it this month. It was part of a Fable book club. It popped up there. And normally there are things in the first first chapter or two itself with the dialogues, like when they're very modern and casual, it can put me off. But this book is kind of satirical in nature, and it was just fun. Like the way it was putting forth aspects of evil and good, and then the dynamics of the characters. I just had so much fun with it. I think I was I was also sick when I read this, so it ended up being kind of the perfect read. And the audiobook was quite good, so I think this is going to be my just entertaining like background audiobook read. I think it'll be perfect for that because I don't have to pay too much attention to everything that's going on. It's quite easy that sense to follow, but it's a fun world. It's like, with fun characters, fun magic. So yeah, very unexpected find for me to like as much as I did. So I will put this in ongoing. Next, we have the Cruel Prince series. I read this last year in the beginning of my reading journey, and I absolutely loved it, completed it. I know there are a few other books in the Folk of the Air universe, but for me, I'm considering this complete because I don't have any interest in reading ahead and following those characters. But I thought the storytelling in this entire series was perfect. Like everything, the pacing, the plot twist, the political intrigue. It was written artfully. And I love when series are able to do that, really capture a story from the beginning to the end in a purposeful way, bring it all together so beautifully. Next up, I have The Wraith Kings by Grace Draven. The first book is Radiance. I love this book. If you're looking for a mature adult fantasy romance book, this is so good. The way she writes relationships, honestly, I love it. I would want to explore more series by her because I really enjoyed her writing in that sense. It's very refreshing, and just the relationships are so mature. So this was a really nice series to read. It has a couple of novellas which are kind of scattered in between or follow some of the side characters. I haven't gotten around to them. I don't know if I will, but I'll just kind of put that in as a question mark. um, Next I have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I loved this book. It's just so perfect. The perfect like academia, the dark atmospheric elements, and then the banter between the characters, the humor. It's like the perfect blend for me. So I love the series so much that I decided not to continue reading. I don't know if I'm just weird for that, but I think sometimes when I really, really, really love the series, I want to savor it almost or make it last longer. And somewhere I had that thought with this because I wasn't sure I would find anything which was so perfectly kind of like put all those pieces of something I like together. So I kind of saved it. I was also waiting for Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales to come out so that if I did read it, I could read the second and third books continuously. So this is definitely an ongoing priority read for me. I came across Half a Soul this year. This restarted my journey of reading again this year after my 5 month long break, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. It was more meaningful than I could have anticipated, but also so magical and charming and just again refreshing. I enjoyed her writing. It's very simple. I like the Regency era setting as well. So I even read these two are like short, I can't say novellas, I would say short stories. They're about like under 80, 60 pages, like that. Both of them are nice. So I am planning on reading the rest. I think Olivia Atwater might be a new favorite author for me. Next up, we have Diary for Aunties. This was again a very unexpected read last year. I had fun with it. I actually heard it as an audiobook. I don't think I'm going to be continuing this series. Put it as a soft DNF. Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to continue the series. It's a DNF, but I would put it in soft DNF only for the reason that I did like it. Like I enjoyed the book for what it was. It was crazy, just ridiculous, but it made me laugh. I had a fun time with it. I do plan to read. There's another series by this author that I do intend to read. So we'll see how I feel about that. Okay, Golden Compass. His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. I thought this was a standalone book. I've never even watched the movie, so maybe I'll do that. But I had this book for 2 months with me, and I just could not read. Every time I picked this book up, I did not feel like reading it. I got through a couple of chapters, and I think I have read about like 18%, 20% of the book, but I just not feeling it. I don't know. So I think I'm gonna DNF this at this point. I can watch the movie, and I just don't feel there's any great need I have to read this particular series. So I'll just skip over it. Okay, next up we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is not my kind of book. I knew that going into it, and I read it purely for some of the quotes I had seen around, like people were talking about the slow burn tension and just the banter and the like fun of dynamic between the two main characters. And I have to say, the way I read the first book, those are mainly the parts that I read. Everything around it, I just skipped because I didn't find it interesting, and not not much of it made sense. Even the ending of the book and other elements were very reminiscent of Hunger Games and things like that. So I think for new readers, they will enjoy this, younger readers. But for me, I think it was a bit too YA. So this goes into TNF for me. And then the Tea Dragon series by Kay O'Neill. I really enjoy the series. It's just a simple illustrated graphic series. I like to pick up the next book every time there's a Draconathon challenge that comes around. So this one I will leave it, I think, in ongoing. Ooh, okay. Daughter of the Pirate King. Now, this is this is a book which I should have read the second book. I enjoyed the first book. This is a short book. The next book is just a duology. I mean, it should have been intuitive for me to just pick up the second book and finish it, but because that month I was participating in the challenge and there were many other books to get to, I read this and I promptly switched to reading something else. So it's a victim of that. This is definitely ongoing. I really enjoyed the writing in the first book. It was very snappy, very fast paced. I think this book did for me what I wanted with Powerless while keeping the world building limited and interesting, and everything was more snappy. Like this whole book is within 300 pages. And sometimes I really think that people should, like authors, should go through an editing process where they um, condense their books or really edit it down so that the most impactful portions of the book can shine rather than it becoming lost. Just to tighten the story a little bit more thoughtfully, I think, yeah, books could benefit from that. So Trisha Levenseller is an author that I would probably want to explore more books by. I think she might be the perfect author for me, potentially, for when I want that hit of romantasy, but not to be overwhelmed by just excessive number of pages and, meandering plots. Just, something more concise, but it packs the punch you need for what you're looking for. Next on my list is Letters of Enchantment by Rebecca Ross. I loved the series. This was just beautiful, charming. I completed it. I love books which have letters or journals or that kind of a format. It's just so fascinating, but done in a way that is also, I don't know, captures the charm of it as well. The Book of Tea Duology by Judy Lynn. I actually read this year and I enjoyed it. I will definitely finish it. It is YA, so I can see certain elements, but the atmosphere, the cultural elements that are woven in, and the magic with the tea itself, I think is very interesting and put together really well. So, this is again a victim of reading one book and then me being too restless and having this bad habit now of just not continuing the series. This is a duology. I should have finished it. So, anyway, next we have The Celestial Kingdoms by Sulan Tan. I read Thought of the Moon Goddess. I feel like it almost suffices as a standalone. Somehow, I didn't feel the need to jump into the second book. Again, I read this during a challenge for a challenge that month, and with the time frame that I read it in, I think it just became very overwhelming. I wish I had read this book, giving it more time to breathe while I was reading it and after reading it as well, and then possibly I would have felt more motivated to jump into the second book as well. So I'm leaving it open, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna keep it an ongoing for now. We'll evaluate the ongoing list at the end. A study in drowning. Well, okay, this was supposed to be a standalone, but then I understand that there is a second book coming out. I'm gonna count it as good as complete. I will not be continuing it, but I feel like because it was supposed to be a standalone, I'm gonna count it as complete. And then we have Adenashire series by G. Penner. I loved the it's just so cozy and full of food and baking and magic, and I love the world that she created of Adenashire. I think it's so charming. So I really enjoyed it. I don't think the next book is out. The first two I really enjoyed. I'm gonna count it as good as complete. And then we have Arranged Marriages of the Wraith. This is a series of standalone books by multiple different authors. I read two from this series and I quite liked it. I'm going to mark it as good as complete because I'm not sure about continuing it right now, but maybe if I'm in the mood for something and I want a quick read, I can always grab onto this. And then I have the Chinese Folktales by Graceland. Now, this isn't actually a continuous series per se, but I want to put it as a series because I love Graceland's writing. It's just the way she's weaving in these themes and the Chinese folklore. It was so dreamy when I read Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. And currently I'm listening to this book as an audiobook. So let me mark that in green. And it's definitely, I would love to pick up her books. They're all standalone, so I don't have to read them continuously. I will, since I'm reading it right now, I will put it in ongoing. And maybe after I'm done with that, I'll move it to as good as complete. And then Agatha Christie, I've read quite a few novels of hers, but I've been wanting to read some more that I haven't read or reread some. And these are just a few that I have from the top of my mind. I think for now, not, I don't know if I should leave this an ongoing or soft DNF it because at this time, I will be reading and then there were none soon. I really want to. Okay, I'm going to keep this an ongoing for now. And then The Very Secret Society of Magical Witches by Sangu Mandana. I love this first book. Now, these are not technically a series, but if she does create a series of these witchy magical novels, I will love it because again, this is one of those books where the sense of humor just clicked with me. That doesn't happen with all books, right? Everyone has a different sense of humor. For me, the sense of humor just it was just right. So it was very fun, very cute, very cozy. This one I will leave an ongoing. I'm really looking forward to A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. It's not yet released, but it will be releasing this year. So actually, I should count it as good as complete for now. And once this releases, then I can put it in ongoing. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. I this one I read the first one, loved it. Bookshops and Bone Dust is in my mind to read. I think I might end up reading it, but I don't have to. I think I'm going to put it as good as complete for now. I might end up reading it for the Our Fantasy Bingo card this year, but maybe not immediately, not right now. And then Starry Kingdoms of the Fae, this is another series of like a multi-author series of standalone books. This one, I read this book, it was nice. These are the few others that I was interested in reading from their list. I think I will soft DNF this for now. I'll come back to it later. Um, and then number one, Ladies Detective Agency. This was a nice mystery series. It was like set in Africa. I'd never read anything set there in this way, but the style of mysteries wasn't really to my taste. So I will not be continuing this series, though I liked it. So I think this is a DNF, though I enjoyed the first book. It was nice. Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I didn't even bother writing in all the other titles, but there are quite a few, and I will not be reading this. I know this is quite popular, but I did not like the series. It's just something about the writing style, and it just didn't click with me. It didn't click with me, or maybe it's because it was the translated work. I don't know. Um, but yeah, okay. So this is where we're at. I can see the total over here that there are 10 series that I've completed. Let me sort them by completed. Okay, so these are the series I've completed. These are the series that are as good as complete. So let me now hide away everything else and just have the ongoing books on here. Okay, so these are the list of books that I'm left with. These are a total of 11 ongoing series. So as of now, I think I'm wanting to hone in on Daughter of the Pirate King and A Magic Steeped in Poison because both these stories are continuous storylines. They left off at a certain point at the end of the story, and they're going to be done in another book. And these are both series that I kind of just think about why didn't I just read the next book right after? So this will be perfect to challenge myself to possibly finish these either this month or by next month. I think we'll leave it at this and stay tuned for another episode of Tracking My Series. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye.